116,592 people are currently in need of a life-saving organ transplant. My purpose today is to inform you about the organ transplant and donation process. This topic is close to my heart because my father-in-law is currently in need of a kidney transplant, and after researching this topic, I realized I am not alone. Some of you may have a loved one in need of an organ transplant, and some of you may be registered organ donors, but how much do you know about how it all really happens? I will walk you through the steps and show you each side of the donation process, and after I believe you have enough information to better understand the organ donation and transplant process. I'll begin by discussing the process of being a living donor, then I'll talk about deceased donors and the process of organ recovery and distribution, and conclude by covering the recipient and life after transplant. With our roadmap in place, let's begin with living donors. The process of organ transplant and donation for living donors is quite extensive. For example, according to UNOS or the United Network for Organ Sharing, to be eligible to be a living donor, one has to be in good overall physical and mental health and older than 18 years of age. To start the process, you can either talk to the transplant coordinator of the specific person you wish to donate to, or you can contact the transplant center of your choice to be a non-directed donor. Furthermore, they will begin with a basic medical screening and history. The initial screening is typically followed by a blood test to see who you would be compatible with. This will all be followed by several psychosocial and medical evaluations to protect you and ensure that the success of the transplant. In addition, the surgery and recovery process among living donors and what is different among living donors depending on what they're donating. There will be follow-up appointments at 6, 12, and 24 months post-donation. Now that we know a little bit about living donors, and let's discuss the deceased donor. The process of organ recovery and distribution is considerable. First, according to UNOS, the deceased donation process begins with the person's decision to save lives by donating their organs when they die. You register to be an organ donor by signing up with your state. Signing up does not guarantee you'll be able to donate your organs, eyes, and tissues when you die. For someone to be a good candidate for deceased donation, they have to die of an illness or accident, such as a severe head trauma, a brain aneurysm, or stroke. Then they have to be put on mechanical support and test for brain death. Furthermore, the hospital must contact an organ procurement organization that determines if the person is a good candidate and talks to the family about the donation. After authorization, a medical evaluation takes place, including obtaining the deceased person's complete medical and social history from the family, and if the evaluation allows for donation, then the donor's information is entered into UNOS's national computer system to begin the organ allocation process. Finally, a list of patients who match the donor is generated, and the donor is taken to an operating room where the organs are surgically removed and sent to the candidates waiting for their transplants. Having an understanding of what each type of donor must go through in the organ donation and transplant process helps better understand the transplant process for the recipient. The process of organ transplantation for the recipient is never ending. First, there's a lot of paperwork, tests, and waiting. Your waiting period begins when you are put on the registered on the National Organ Transplant waiting list. After a very ill person must be referred by their physician to be on the list. You must organize your support system and develop a financial strategy while you're waiting for your transplant. Second, the procedure itself is grueling. According to UNOS, the surgery can last anywhere from 4 to 9 hours, but each transplant is unique. Finally, it doesn't end there. Navigating life after a transplant is an ongoing battle. Doctors continue to monitor your health, and laboratory tests are regularly scheduled. Rejection is also a concern for transplant after transplant. Rejection can happen when the body sees the transplanted organ or tissue as a foreign invader and attempts to destroy it. Anti-rejection medications are an important part of the life after transplant surgery and will continue to be important throughout the life of the organ. The transplant is not a cure. Recipients continue to battle every day to stay healthy, exercise, and take their medications. After their transplant, their body is still in need of being closely managed. In conclusion, the organ donation and transplant process is extensive and affects a great deal of the population in one way or another. Let's review what we've covered today. First, we learned that the process of organ donation for living donors is quite extensive, and you must be in good overall health, older than 18 years of age, and able to pass a basic medical screening. Second, we learned that the process of organ recovery and distribution from a deceased donor is considerable and begins with one person's decision to donate and ends with the organs being surgically removed and sent to the matched recipients. Finally, we learned that the process of organ transplantation for the recipient is never ending. There's a lot of paperwork, tests, and waiting, and it doesn't end there. Navigating life after a transplant is an ongoing battle. Some of you may have experience with this process by either being a donor, knowing someone in need of an organ transplant, or being someone in need. Now you can better understand the organ donation and transplant process, relate to some of the thousands of people currently in this situation, and be prepared if this situation ever applies to you.